And now, stand and cheer for your Talking Basketball Podcast.
Hello, welcome to another edition of Talking Basketball Podcast. I am Mark.
I am Paul. Hello.
Hello. And we're going to start today off with a bit of a thank you.
Thank you to all our listeners. I'm just looking at the numbers here. I mean, I'm kind of overwhelmed, if I'm honest. Like, you know, we started this, October is when it turned into the Talking Basketball Podcast.
Yep.
And our all-time downloads are 106.1 thousand.
Yeah, that's pretty ridiculous, really. We can't say thank you enough. It's thank you to everyone who's listened. Even if you've listened to this is the first ever episode, thank you so much. If you've listened to lots of them, or if you listen to all of them, I doubt there's many people that have listened to all of them.
Well, in the last 30 days, Mark, 41.7 thousand.
Well, I actually added up yesterday. I was sad, and I added up how many hours that we have actually of podcasts available.
Oh, what is it?
It's over 60 hours.
Oh, brilliant. Someone's got to sit there for
Someone's
days.
got
No sleep.
You literally have to sit. So, I mean,
If you do that, we got to send you a free jumper.
Oh, yeah.
Or a t-shirt or something.
Yeah, we'll do that. If you can do that, maybe, but yeah, we'll have to figure out how we do that. But if you do all of them up to, let's make it a nice round 3 days worth. So up to 72. So we've only got a few more shows, and then we'll be there at 72.
Well, I think on this milestone, I mean, weren't even looking at numbers at the start. We were just doing it for a laugh. Then all of a sudden, it's like, oh wow, the numbers are actually going up. This is really cool. It's turned into like a part-time job, isn't it?
Yeah, people other than our immediate families are actually listening to it.
Yeah, it's very cool.
In fact, immediate family doesn't usually listen to it.
Wow.
Well, they hear enough of us talk anyway, so they're not like, no.
Well, I would like to say a huge thank you, Mark. And if anyone wants to get in touch with the show, please email ukbasketballpodcast@gmail.com. I want to irritate Mark. I want 41,000 emails in his inbox because he will be annoyed with that, and I will find it funny. That'll be well funny. You just be like, oh, I can't deal with this. Bloody hell, why did you say that? And I'll be like, genius. That is why the listeners are amazing. But Mark, I do think we should send a little something to some listeners. So I know we've been getting some emails and we've had people on and stuff like that. So I thought we could pick one person each.
Warm pair of socks.
And send them something from the show. So we've actually got these Talking Basketball Podcast stickers. Not that they would want a sticker, but we'll send it to them anyway.
Everyone wants us. Anyone who's listening now is sitting there thinking, what does that sticker look like? I can assure you, it's one of the greatest stickers you've ever seen.
It's the one on the Instagram and all that Facebook page. That one.
Once you get this, you'll think, how did I get this far in life without having this sticker?
I want to send this sticker. Well, no, we chuck a few in there. We got enough.
Yeah.
I'm going to nominate and send mine to Newcastle Bald Eagle, Keith White. That's who I'm sending mine to. So, Keith, I'll be in touch. I'm going to send you some stickers.
It's a tricky one. This is a tricky one. I'll have to think about it. Not really. I'm going to send it to Elliot. Elliot, because Elliot consistently sends messages to us.
Gives us some content.
Via the Podbean app, believe it or not. So I don't know if you can, anyone who's listened on Podbean, but you can actually directly write on the shows. The same as all of them. And in fact, we welcome you to write any comments or anything that you have because we want to get feedback from people. But Elliot does constantly give us some feedback. A lot of it is directed at Paul and his euphemisms that he unwittingly says. So Elliot, you're going to get some of those. And we'll chuck some in for the kids as well.
Yeah, huge thank you. So, and hang on, let me have a look at what it is again. It is...
What is it?
Oh, I'm just looking at the numbers. I closed it all up. It is at 41.7k. I mean, wow, we'll do another one of these sending stickers off at 50k, I guess.
At 50k. That's a month. That's listeners a month. That's
That's well. If it gets that far, let's see. But
we didn't even think we'd get 1,000, so we're not sure what we're doing here.
But I would say, coming up, we have got some absolute fantastic guests.
Yeah, ridiculous guests.
Some absolute ridiculous guests coming on the show. We have got, I mean, I don't want to say their names just in case. I mean, I'm always like, when they're here, I'm like,
say Justin Bieber.
No, he's not coming on.
He balls apparently.
Whatever. They gave him that bloody MVP. That was charity. Put me in that squad.
You're not
like,
you wouldn't go in hard.
Beebmeister,
Well,
clothesline,
for a different
boom.
reason.
Look, I was brought up with Bill Lane Beer and the Bad Boys. But Bieber, bring that crap this way. That's what I'd be like. Come
Would
on.
you be doing that? Like his insurance would be like, please don't let him go on the court.
Well,
No one's going to play tough D on him.
Let's see what happens. I don't even know what I was talking about now. You started talking about Justin Bieber. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah, so we got some guests coming on. So I will say, until they turn up, that's when I believe it. But we have got two former Portsmouth FC basketball players. The legends from the 80s that inspired a generation of basketball in Portsmouth. We got two of those players coming on in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Hopefully I might be able to get one more. I don't know. We'll see. But
I mean, that would be gigantic.
yeah, we've got someone from FIBA GB coming on soon. And, you know, we got a couple of coaches, potentially a big time coach. And I've got a few curveballs that I want to keep quiet from Mark because I want to see his reaction.
Yeah, that's all right.
When they turn up, because some of them are characters. So anyway, I think let's just end this to all our listeners. A huge thank you, and we really appreciate you. This is for you. Wow. Back to the BBL, Mark.
Back to it.
BBL Trophy.
Week, round 3.
Before the Final Four. So, I mean, look, you got to talk about the Surrey Scorchers. They started the week 2-0. And they had it was arguably the most brutal week of all, I think. I mean, I felt a bit sorry for Manchester the week before. This week it's Surrey. And I had a soft spot for them because, you know, we had, you know, former BBL Surrey Scorcher Adam Riabi come on the show. So I was kind of rooting for them to get to the Final Four. And, you know, when you get to the Final Four, you never know. But they had a brutal week. So, I mean, look, let's start that one off. So Caledonia hosted the Scorchers. And can I say a few things after watching this game?
Okay.
What an atmosphere at Caledonia. Bloody hell. They're doing it right. The only thing I'm disappointed about when you watch it on YouTube, because of all the music rights and all of that, they mute it when the show's happening.
Yep.
But they do it right. Like the whole stadium goes black and it's just silence. Even on the court, and they got the show, they got the lights,
what I liked was the screen at the end with the word defense written on the
that's
like,
good.
flagging up. But I know it's a simple thing, but it's like literally telling the crowd that's what you got to shout.
But if you notice the banners as well around the side of the court, that's all lighting up. That you don't. I don't know. I wouldn't even. I'm trying to think of anyone else who does it. Anyway, look, it's state of the art. It is state of the art. And the only thing I was disappointed with, I couldn't hear it and couldn't hear the show of what they were doing.
The atmospheres don't translate across. And the other thing was, clearly where they stand, where they do the recording, is the first main stand that gets packed out. Because when it...
Oh, is it? I was going to point that out.
When it pans, you can see, there's more people here. Whereas the one that they're looking at, it's like...
Oh, well, that was one of my points. The first thing, it looked like a quiet night in Scotland.
Yeah. It was like...
They should put everyone on the other side where the camera's facing first.
Yeah, I got a feeling that when there was a pan, there was one moment I thought, hang on a minute.
Are you sure there just wasn't a crowd on that point?
It might well have been, but I think it's a good point, because remember, when we look at, if you go to any other teams who only have the one side, like Surrey, for example, Surrey's team obviously only have bleachers on the one side. So you never always get the angle unless someone goes down at the front and looks back up.
Okay.
You never see the crowd, do you? You just look at, when you're looking at Surrey, and I think, who else is it? Bristol. They all play with only one set of bleachers.
Yeah.
So half of the video performance looks rubbish because you're basically just looking at a wall.
Yeah.
And that is just a...
They could manipulate that a little bit though, because like, I mean, when I was in the States once, I went to I can't remember what it's called, but it was like some wrestling.
It's
event.
a small world.
Some wrestling, but it was like, it was a wrestling before it got big. Was it the American one, whatever that was? The ones that suddenly just got really, really big.
What, AEW, that one?
It might have been. And they actually put the crowd in a specific place. And then when you saw it on TV, you were like, oh man, that looks rammed. But when you were there, you were like, no, it really, really wasn't. Interesting, they put people in the crowd. There was a guy next to me saying all this stuff. I'm like, he's influencing everyone around us. And I was like, he's been planted there to do that. Anyway, doesn't matter. We get on a subject. Anyways, but looks from what I could see on the game, it looks like Caledonia Gladiators, the actual show that they're putting on, that looks up there with the BBL. Can I also say, I did wonder, because it was so dark, I couldn't help laughing, thinking, I wonder if the coach has got like one of those boards
with the backlight on it,
and is he like, yeah, right, I want you to go here, and as he goes here, all the lights go out, and he's like, what's going on? Anyway, so it was a really good night for Caledonia, beating Scorchers 99-74, beating them by 25 points. And you got to talk about Carl Johnson with 19 points, 5 rebounds, 1 assist.
Yeah, it was a pretty emphatic win at home, wasn't it, really?
Well, I liked his contribution to the team. And
Caledonia's been spotty. They've been quite spotty. But
I'm going to say he only had 19 points. And I don't mean to say it like that, but it was all the stuff that he did, like crashing the board, keeping plays alive, like little tips at the right place to keep the play going, stuff off the ball, creating second chance opportunities, all that. He was just doing everything right, and I felt that had a huge impact, and that's why I really wanted to focus on that contribution of his game alongside his 19 points. Got to include Clifton Moore Jr. with 20 points, 12 rebounds, 2 assists, Mark.
Yeah. He played well.
And at the end of the game, I really thought it just made me laugh. The Gladiators came in and had a huddle at the end of the game. And really interesting, the coach, you couldn't hear him, I could read his lips. And he was like, it's time to focus now. You need to focus now. And I thought that was really interesting.
Well, that would make sense because they've really been off the boil for a while. So those first few games in the tournament, they lost, and everyone was like, "Hang on a minute, they're the defending champions.
They are the defending champs.
They're the defending champs." So everyone's like, "What's going on?" Then they won their last game last week, and you think, "Okay, are they going to claw in?"
Yeah.
So that was a big game for them. They had to win that game.
Well, definitely the coach is keeping them guided there. Like, 100%. Get your heads on. Yeah. You need to focus now. What I really thought was funny, whilst they were huddled, I'm assuming it's one of the players' kids or something. There's this little kid with like a little mini gladiator top with his little tiny ball, just like trying to get into the huddle. Just made me laugh. I thought, oh, bless him. And also, you got to mention Johnny Bunyan. That was his last professional game. Apparently, that's what I picked up on it, which I didn't really understand halfway through the season. But maybe I read that wrong. But
all right, the
commentators were talking during his speech. I couldn't hear what he was saying, and it was kind of said it really brief. And I was like, oh, is that it? Is he retiring? So I don't know if he was coming into the squad, helping out or whatever. But he's been playing since like 2007, and he's been playing with the Gladiators for a while now. Before that, the Glasgow Rocks, and the Falkirk Fury, which is a great name.
That is a great name.
I wonder where they got that from. The Portsmouth Fury, perhaps. Perhaps. So anyway, look, the Scorchers go up to Scotland and they lose by 25. And I remember last week I said to you, that is a huge game because they don't want to go home and play Cheshire.
No, you don't.
Bear in mind, Cheshire, I have got nothing to back what I'm about to say up, I don't think Cheshire have ever lost in Surrey.
Wow.
And that's what was guiding me, saying you don't want to go to that game needing to win because it's Cheshire, and I think they've never lost in Surrey.
Yeah.
And what happens, you know, Surrey, Cheshire go to Surrey and just dominated. Just absolutely dominated. Final score was Scorchers 63, Cheshire 105. That's a 42-point loss.
Yeah, that was literally, once they did that, they secured their place. That was it. They secured.
Who, Cheshire?
Yeah, they secured their
Well,
place.
I think as soon as Gladiators won, they were in.
I think they were, but I thought the Scorchers win did it. It did confuse. I have to admit, this does raise up a point where there was quite a lot of teams who'd had 2 wins or 3 wins, and one had a loss, and it wasn't quite as obvious who could piggyback who to get into the.
Cheshire had won by so many points. I just, you could argue mathematically, but they'd have to lose by like 60 or something like that. So they were in. They were in. But I think it was very much in Surrey Scorchers' hands, Cheshire's hands, if the Gladiators got through. And you know what? It's the Scorchers, there were a lot of turnovers, is what I noticed. And in the first, just a random fact, in the first half, 17 points alone came from the Surrey Scorchers turning the ball over. And you know, you got to talk about, and I know you like some of these stats, so I wrote them down for you. The Phoenix, I don't think we talk enough about Cheshire Phoenix, you know.
We don't.
We should, because, you know, they are an absolute solid team that played. Look, their field goal percentage, 59%. Their 3-point percentage in this game was 44%. I did add this because I know you are very critical. Their free throw percentage was 28%.
Oh,
so they need to work on that. But look,
that is awful.
They rebounded Surrey, 49 rebounds, 32.
I mean, that's Skylar White right there, probably.
And it was, you know, don't forget, this is the team that arguably should have won the trophy last year. They should have won the trophy. Everyone talks about the buzzer beater. Yes. Go back and look at and watch that game last quarter. Cheshire were winning by 5 points with like 2 minutes left. And Cheshire did not score in the last 2 minutes of that game.
No, wait, yeah.
So, you know, you are, I mean, the Phoenix could have won that very easily. Very easily.
I don't know about easily, because that was that. I mean,
that final. Like, if it wasn't for, like, say, Princeton Onwas right at the end, his contribution, David Sloan, his contribution right at the end of that fourth quarter, that pretty much won it for him in the last 2 minutes.
Yeah.
You go and just watch it, and you'll see. But yeah, so look, Cheshire dominated. That's Group A, is it? That they're in? I think it's Group A.
Let me check. I'm sure I wrote it down.
Why haven't you got this up in front of you?
Because it's not that important to my life.
Wow.
Well, what if it's Group A or Group B? It's whichever group it is. They're in the other one.
Well, let's see who can get there first. I am going to look this up, and I'm going to get there in about 3 seconds. It is Group A.
Yep.
But that defeat did bring the Gladiators to go above the Surrey Scorchers on points. They all had the same points, but because they lost by 42 and then 25 the night before, that's a 67-point deficit.
Ouch.
And it's just, man, that's tough for them after a great start.
As I mean, I knew the Cheshire game was a bang, but it wasn't just a bang for it sealed Cheshire's place, but it also meant Caledonia was absolutely set. Because obviously Scorcher's got the double hammer. But I mean, that is a tough run. Whichever way you're playing it, that's a tough run.
And because they had played that game 2 days before, you know exactly what needs to happen for you to go through.
Yeah.
So, you know, that was a huge blow for them. So, you know, I feel for the Scorchers, but you can't under highlight how much of good basketball the Cheshire Phoenix are playing at the moment. And
the whole way through the league. And if you see that in the league, they had a bit of a slower start and they picked up. And then the way that they're moving through the actual league tournament and the championship, they're in a good place.
Yeah, and you've got to highlight it that I know there's a but or an asterisk on this statement, but I do think these group tables highlight how close the league is.
Yes.
But Cheshire Phoenix, the only one to be undefeated so far in the BBL Trophy.
Are they?
The only team to be undefeated. I'll come on to that little asterisk that I just said in a moment, because obviously you're thinking, hang on, what happened to the London Lions, the king of the castle? Well, we'll come on to that in a bit.
Well, we got the old your favourite grey suited
Great
Sharks.
kit. They were in the Shark Tank, Mark, weren't they?
They were in the Shark Tank. Plymouth versus, although, I mean, you could argue as well, I run Plymouth. Sharks are associated with the Plymouth area, so. But, yes, Pat Riots took a journey up to go see the Sharks. And how did that pay off for them?
Well, it was look, something magical was going to have to happen for the Sharks to be able to go through. So
it's tough, isn't it, really? Because if you think about it, like, genuinely, it's at this point now, this third round stage, there are teams, and some of these games we're talking about, they're playing, and you go, the outcome is irrelevant. Literally, the outcome of this game is irrelevant. It's not going to influence anyone going up. It's not going to influence you going down or anyone going. It's just literally, you're just playing a game.
Yeah.
So what do you do in that sort of, because both teams, you probably think, right, let's run the bench. Let's run some people. Let's get some, surely.
Well, why do you think London lost? That's the asterisk. Look how many players they played with. Anyway, so, so the Sharks got a win in the Shark Tank against the Plymouth Patriots, but then they go and take on Cheshire Phoenix. Cheshire's just on fire, and there wasn't, nothing was denting that, the fantastic run they're having in the BBL Trophy.
No. But just as you said about playing a team, Cheshire didn't let up. I mean, they played let some people sit out for a little bit.
Yeah, they didn't have to go for it, but
they went and did we're here to play. Everyone's going to play. Everyone's going to run their plays. They did it that sort of way, which I respect a lot more. They didn't just, let's sit everyone out.
And again, I don't know why this keeps popping in my mind, but they almost won the trophy last year. So you got to ask, how much of that's eating at them? They're going, nah, we're not easing up now. We're not easing up now.
100%. They're frothing for it. No question.
Yeah. So that was something to think about. Anything you want to add to Group A, Mark, before we go to Group B?
No, sir.
All right. So Group B, you got Bristol, the Flyers. I think you got a little soft spot for Bristol.
I love the kit. I love their kit. It's so good. I like Bristol as a city. I love what they're doing. I love the way they do the media. They seem to have a really good attitude of things. And at the beginning of the season, they did well. Then they just all jumped off a cliff like lemmings, and they had a load of injuries, and it just went horribly wrong their season. But in the tournament, you thought, oh, are they going to get? No, they just have never got going. So
yeah, I mean, I would argue they were in a. I mean, I don't want to say a tough group because everyone's beating everyone, so you don't know. But you looked at that table and went, all right, London's going up, and then you got Leicester with the introduction of Teddy Buckets, and the Eagles, always up there around there, and I'm looking and going, wow, they got some hard work, but they won half their games. Bit. They won half their games, Mark. So you look at it a bit like the NBA in-season tournament. As soon as you lose that one game, okay, you're in trouble.
There was a great in the game, in that Bristol game, there was a great swap by one of the London Lions players. I think it's is it Quincy? I Quince, I think his name was. One of the guys, it looked like he was just going in for one of the guys was going in for the jam, one of the flyers. This guy came out of nowhere, one of those LeBron swats. Get out.
Don't forget, those boys got something to prove as well.
Oh, yeah.
The London Lions. Look, I wrote this. London Lions played with 8 players, so they're clearly resting for the Final Four. Also, you got to remember that some of these teams are still in European competitions, which is also going to have effect. I think Newcastle played in Europe this week, and I think they got a win.
Night.
And they got a win. Yeah. So,
congrats to that, Newcastle.
You got to, look at that.
That's in the ENBL, I believe.
But I wanted to highlight this. I love seeing a double-double on Brad Green with 12 points, 13 rebounds, 2 assists. He was the most dominant on the boards for both teams. I think, don't quote me on this, but I think he was the only player to be in double digits on rebounds, but I could be wrong.
Oh, okay.
But, Bristol had 6 players in double digits for points.
I want to say it was Mohammed near the end who came in with a jam. And I don't know if you saw that dunk, but it was like he just thought, I'm just going to take this regardless. He just went in for it. It was nice, proper poster.
Nice.
Really, really, really nice. But there was some interesting gameplay from the Lions as well. You could tell they were resting people and they had other people on the floor because it didn't look like they had.
I didn't have any of their normal starters.
Well,
sorry, not starters. I think they had. Did they have one? It wasn't their
different
normal
chemistry.
team. Like Sharma wasn't playing.
No.
Oh God, I haven't got any of my notes in front of me. Morgan wasn't playing.
No.
They're not even in the team.
No, no.
So yeah, it was. That's my asterisk with it. It's like we're going through. We got Europe. We got the Final Four. That they're going to turn up, all guns blazing.
Well, my asterisk on that would be: does anyone need to be resting? I get basketball's physical. I get it's a lot of playing games, etc., etc. But when you go to other places, they're doing more.
I don't know. It's a tough one to answer because it's one of those classic things. Do you rest players or do you work them hard? Like when they have those off days, it's a difficult one, and every coach has got their different mentality with it. And when something happens, like the thing that's popping in my mind, and we'll talk. I know you want to do an episode on the Showtime Lakers, but the Lakers are in the finals, and they got 9 days to wait.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Detroit are battling the Celtics. They wait 9 days. Pat Riley takes them down.
Pat Riots does it.
Did I say Pat Riots or Riley? No. I said Pat Riley. Did I?
Wow, I thought you were going for Pat Riots.
He takes them for a training session, and they're like, "These are the hardest training sessions we've had in our lives." And what happens? Byron Scott gets injured. Magic gets injured.
Yeah.
In the first 2 games, and they end up losing. So I don't know. If it'd be interesting to see if Pat Riley went back, what he would then say. Would he be like, "I'm going to take it a bit easy on them"? I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's always the argument. So the last game, wow, man, I was looking forward to this. Was the Newcastle Eagles.
Big game.
At home in the Eagles' nest to Leicester Riders.
Now, just to frame it rather, you backed the Eagles, and I said Teddy is going to pull through on the Riders.
You did back Leicester, Mark. I'll give you that. I will give you that. However,
how did that turn out for you?
Well, Newcastle had 8 players.
Wow.
Newcastle had 8 players.
That's not my problem.
You got to talk about.
Why did they have not 8 players? That's weird.
Don't know. Have you found out why they only had 8 players?
No.
Why not?
Why? How do I know? Anyone listening from Newcastle, you let us know. It just seems odd when you see these teams and they have 8 players.
You get to this point in the season. Don't forget they're in Europe. They're picking up injuries. It's natural.
I know
this happens from time to time.
Then look, Newcastle, I get it because they had the European game last night. I understand that, but still, if you've got even people resting, you've got enough players in your squad, surely, to field 10.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know what their injury situation is at the moment. But look, they only had 8 players there. But you got to talk about Kimball McKenzie. He was excellent. He was absolutely excellent. And it looked like he was just leading the way for the team. You know, he was being that captain, leading from the front. And, you know, in this game, he had 22 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, and 2 steals.
2 steals.
I had to throw that paper then.
You love that.
But these are the kind of moments that I really like. So it was a great team performance by a really focused Leicester Riders. And I know everyone's going, Teddy Buckets, and he did get 14 points. Yes.
No, it was a whole team thing. It wasn't just one player.
But what I really liked was the contribution from 2 bench players in particular. So Samuel Doru, the injection he came off the bench early, setting that tone. He ended up with 17 points. Great contribution from him off the bench. And also you got to talk about TJ Law as well. He came off the bench with 11 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists. One of those was a huge 3.
He was the one who hit that 3.
Yeah, and
okay.
There were moments in the game when Newcastle were coming back, and you can feel they were coming back. So, like as an example, I think it was towards the end of the half, Newcastle were coming back, and it ended like 55-49, you know, and TJ Law just seemed to be in the right place at the right time. I had him down, and my note for him was he was the pinnacle for stopping Newcastle getting back in the game.
Yeah.
Anytime they started going, hit the momentum is there, bam, he would do something. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the third period, that was the big break for the Riders, who ended up by 15 points, I think, at the end of that. And the only thing I got to say,
I mean, we're talking about storied teams. Leicester have done so well in recent years within the BBL. If you go back historically, obviously the Eagles goes without saying, the most storied team in the British Basketball League. At London Lions, you know, all of these teams have got massive heritages and very well-earned respect around the leagues. So these are big. Every single game of these.
Wow. Whoever won this game was going through.
And that is what you want to see from a fan's perspective. You want to see, like, what's this game mean to someone?
I wish it was closer. When I was watching this, I was like, oh man, like at the end of the third, it was like, oh wow. Yeah. You know what? And I can't decide.
I think the commentators got some stuff wrong on that one, I've got to say, because a couple of times they said, oh, so-and-so's made a fumble. Like one of them stood out, which was they said, oh, Taj Green's fumbled the ball. And
Did he fumble the ball?
I think he got stripped of the ball. And I think that's a very different thing. It's not his error. It's someone else actually.
Oh, we can let
him
off.
No.
Let him off. You have to be 100% right all the time.
Well, you know, it's the crucifix I bear.
They should get you doing it, Mark.
Hell no. But they, you know, realistically, I think you should credit the defense there, because someone actually got the ball from him. So it's not that he fumbled it and made a mistake. It was actually someone else.
You mean focus on the positive?
Yeah, exactly. And it was like, oh no, he's fumbled it. You go, and actually someone stripped him of that. That's actually just a great play defensively. And then turn that round, and it went and they scored 2 points. And you go, that's a great, you know, a swing.
Well, I mean, talking of positivity for Newcastle, I mean, you had Rocky McGill. Rocky with 15 points. Jordan Johnson with 18 points. And, you know, big man Taj Green with 28 points, 11 rebounds, gets double-double. But it wasn't enough for the Newcastle Eagles. Now, I don't know the answer to this question. And this is why I think Leicester are exciting at the moment, is this injection by Teddy Buckets. Who's the best player for Leicester Riders, Teddy Buckets or Kimball McKenzie?
I'd probably say, if you're going to put on paper, McKenzie, but Buckets has changed the dynamic in the team clearly, and it's given something that maybe brings out more in the other players. So it might still be Kimball McKenzie, but Buckets is like being a piece. They've just put a piece in.
There was a really interesting play with Buckets. He was to the right. This was fourth quarter. I think it was clear it was over by that point. I think it was to the right of the basket. He went up for a shot and got rejected. He clearly didn't like it because down the other end, and I couldn't really see by the angle, but it looked like maybe the guy just fell down awkward, or he might have pushed him down awkward. But he looked frustrated.
It looked like
he's like, yeah.
Like his physicality had maybe assisted the gentleman in meeting the floor sooner.
But I like that. But that means we got the London Lions taking on the Caledonian Gladiators and the Cheshire Phoenix taking on the Leicester Riders. I mean, I don't even know if I want to go near that.
Like, Caledonia versus London.
Caledonia, they are last year champions.
No, it's not happening.
They know what gold tastes like, Mark.
Yeah, they do. They won't be tasting it today. That London will take that one, no question.
I
think the game, without a shadow of a doubt, the game is going to be Cheshire
and
versus
who are you
Riders.
going for?
I mean, I'm going to stay with the Riders for that. I'd love to see them do well.
Oh,
wow. But I think, you'd back the Cheshire anyway, the Phoenix, based on their current play.
Well, yeah, I'll go the other way.
I would love Caledonia to dent the crown.
That would be really funny.
I think a lot of people would love to see that happen, and we'd all will it on. But London are just strong.
Yeah. Well, let's see if the old squad come back. But I mean, just talking about, I'm going to go for the Gladiator. If you're saying London, I'll say Gladiators. I'm going to back the Scots.
You're going to do the Scots.
Reach
into your heritage.
Yeah.
Lovely.
I'm going to go for the Scots.
And these games are played on Saturday, is worth noting. So the last game was played
Final Four weekend.
Yeah, and it's literally the first games are played on the Saturday in the semis, and whoever gets through the final, it's the next day on the Sunday.
Yeah.
So that'll be good. When you were saying about resting, that maybe comes into stuff a bit.
Yeah, perhaps.
With the tactics, because if you're resting someone now, they know that they're going to have a weekend.
But I will just say,
and they have played more games probably week in, week out.
Who?
The teams at the moment, they normally only play one game a week. So some of these teams have played 2 games in a week in this tournament. Because you had to, because there's only 3 weeks.
I think London the most rested team here. In this, London are the most rested team. Let's see what happened. You know what? I will go for Cheshire Phoenix. I think the way the Leicester are playing at the moment is exciting, but I will go for Cheshire. And the reason I'm going to say that is just because of last year's tournament. And I think people always focus on that shot. And again, I'm going to go back to the point I was going to make. With 2 minutes left, Cheshire were up by 5. Princeton onwards hits a 3, a huge 3. He then, I think it's a layup. I can't remember. I think it's a layup. He scores 2 points from somewhere. It's now a tied game. I mean, what a contribution from him. You're down by 5.
Right.
With like 30 seconds left, he's now tied the game up.
He's also now left Caledonia.
And what does he do now? He passes the ball out to David Sloan. So he's the one who gets the assist for David Sloan to take the shot that everyone remembers that wins the game. But yeah, I mean, if none of that happens, there's a lot of ifs there, but Cheshire win. So I will say Cheshire. And I will back the current BBL Trophy champions. I will back them, Mark. And we'll see what happens. Yep. So, it's all eyes on this weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be a great weekend.
I have got a story for you. I've got nothing to back it up, and I cannot tell you my source. Right. But my question to you is, have you seen the BBL Trophy? The actual trophy itself?
No.
So, it's made of glass. It's a glass trophy.
Okay.
And I was speaking to someone recently who I'm not going to divulge their name. And I can't remember who he or she said what team it is. I'll ask them and find out. But he said 1 year. Oh, I just said he, get bugger. Anyway, or she
Worst spy ever.
He said, he was telling me one year someone was like, yeah, we can't give you the trophy back. And they were like, what's happened? They're like, yeah, it's smashed. So I don't know. But he did say apparently that Caledonia do bring the trophy down and say, here it is. But yeah, I mean, have a look online. It's a really nice trophy, but it's like, a glass trophy.
I didn't even look it up.
It's really nice.
That is shocking
it's really
for me.
cool.
I'd normally be all over that.
But it's like, I guess it's like a huge vase going out, but the base just makes it look really chunky. It looks really good.
You mean they got it with they bought some flowers for the missus.
And
they went, do you want a free vase with that? Yeah,
hey,
great.
I'm telling you now, whoever wins that, you're chucking the beer in there. 100%. You're chucking the beer in that trophy. Definitely.
Well, I mean, all right. What do you think so far with this trophy? Has it been? Has it changed the league? Has it changed your opinion of the BBL or added something to it?
No, I think it's. No. I think it highlights how close all of these teams are.
Yeah. I think it's interesting having this whole. It's a month off, but it's not a month off. It's almost like for this month we're just going to have a different format, and then we'll just go back to it again. So no one's actually
good.
But you're not having a month off.
Makes it special. That's what I like. It makes it special. Like we're talking about and going, oh man, this is cut. These are all like in NBA world Game 7 games, aren't they?
Yes.
And and that's what is romantic and special about it. These are one-off games, not the like in the NBA where it's like, oh, it's best of 7. Oh, we can afford to win one. It's okay. That's not too bad. And sometimes you see players get cocky and go, oh, I've still got another chance, kind of thing. And it's like with this, it's like you lose, that's it, done. See you later.
Football.
Yeah.
Football.
Well, it's like the college.
Group
it's like the college NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'll also just say Cheshire and the Gladiators are the only teams that are returning to the Final Four. I thought you might like that.
Oh, I do like that.
Sheffield Sharks were there last year, missed out this year.
That's because their kit's grey. So
and
don't want to see that.
Something I need to look into. I know the coach, so I'm going to ask him.
Bifocal glasses.
The Derby Trailblazers.
Yep.
They were in the Final Four last year for the BBL.
All right.
So I don't know if they were in the BBL or they allowed an NBL team to come into it. I don't know.
Up until last year, you had the 2 top teams in a playthrough would be they were like wild cards that they would come in.
Oh.
So that's why, if you remember rightly, our very local Solent Kestrels went up and played in the trophy.
Oh, that's how they won it.
That's how
that.
Yeah.
Oh.
So that used to be anyone in any of the national teams.
They won it as well, didn't they?
Yeah. So anyone in the national teams could go in here for that.
Or did they lose in the final?
They lost in the final, but now they've closed that off.
No, they must have won something. They won some significant trophy, because if you look at the rankings of the all-time BBL teams, Portsmouth are clearly in there. Like we're like 16th.
Yeah.
But the Kestrels are like 18th or 19th, and there's a ranking that they've got, so they must have won something.
Okay. I'll have a look, but all I know is that they went into that BBL trophy, and when they went in to do that, one of the reasons was that they changed that format again. So they used to have wild cards. Now they don't have wild cards.
I quite like the idea that you get an NBL team coming in, but if an NBL team is coming in and having an impact against BBL teams, you got to argue they should be in the BBL.
Yeah.
That's a discussion for another time.
Yeah.
Well, there you go, Mark.
That is our roundup
of the entire group stage.
Yeah, it's been good to watch.
All eyes on the weekend, Final Four.
Yeah,
in Birmingham.
The highlights, what the BBL are doing, I think are brilliant with their highlights as well.
I like the music.
That unbreakable.
There's a music that they do. I think it's on. Where have I heard it? It's on YouTube. So when you're watching the games on YouTube,
that's their theme song called Unbeatable.
When it goes, but it's just the musical version of it.
Yes.
Yeah, I really like that.
Yes, it's their dream. But I think they're tightening it every single time that you see it. They're improving in how they're delivering that media. So full credit to the media team there, because I think they're doing a great job, and they've always done really good graphics and stuff. So this week in the NBA, we could do a whole flipping show on this, but there's been a few big things.
Well, let's do a 1 minute buzzer beater, Mark. Go. One minute
buzzer beater. Joel Embiid hit 70. Outrageous. Not many other players have done that. Only other people who've done that.
How dare you stop the clap for Embiid?
I was going to say Dame Lillard got 71.
There's not many around there.
Kobe got 81. But what was really good was
is it Chamberlain? Will Chamberlain? He got 100.
But what was really
there's a few around 70.
Awesome was that he got it on the 22nd of January. And that's when Kobe got his 81.
Oh, that's good.
How cool was that? I was like, that. Yeah, I'll take that.
Good.
That's a really cool thing. So that's a bit of a nod to Kobe in a way.
I don't want to go on about this. This is just my opinion on it, because this is a topic that could be a show in itself. But you got to argue. And the first thing that popped in my head when I saw it got, was it 70 or 71?
70.
70. The impact of the big man is back in the NBA. It's been a lot. It's been a lot of small ball for our ages, and it's like you go anywhere now. What's the first thing people do? Get the ball, start shooting threes.
It was even
everywhere you go. National League 3. But the big man, the height. Big man game is back.
Yeah, and I think
just look at all the top teams in the NBA.
Everyone was getting excited with the Wembys and the Chets and everyone, but you got to bring that big man back. The people like the Shaq and the David Robinson, and God, there's so many of them. So many. Dirk, all of the big men. They're all. I mean, you could argue LeBron's a big man. He's 6'9". You wouldn't want to mess with him. He's a monster, isn't he?
Just look at all the teams who are doing well in the NBA, and just look at their bigs.
Yeah, 100%. So what was funny though was that
Embiid, the Timberwolves, he's a Timberwolves guy.
What's that?
The Timberwolves guy.
Anthony Towns.
There you go. So it's all the bigs that are doing well.
But ironically, Embiid gets. No one looks at Embiid. He hits 70. Everyone's like, that's great. Tristan Thompson's just got kicked out of the league for 25 games. He's been suspended for failing drug tests. But his last game he scored 4 points. So it's kind of it's kind of funny in a way. It's like Embiid scores 70 points. And everyone's like, yeah, that's fine. Looks legit. Tristan Thompson scores 4, and they're like, something looks dodgy there.
You scored 4 points.
You got 4 points.
He's on drugs.
He's on drugs with 4 points.
I'm assuming they do drug tests quite regularly in there.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. That's.
I've heard story, and sometimes I don't know what it's like in the NBA. I mean, this is just football ones I've heard, where it's like you've just won the Champions League, and you're like, yeah, and they go, we need to take a drug sample now, and it's your moment to celebrate, and you got to go.
Yeah.
Take a wee in a bottle or whatever with some guy looking over your shoulder.
Yeah,
it's like
they do it in the Formula One and stuff as well, don't they? They just come out, they're sweating, they're awful, they're everything. Like, in you go.
Some
go in there.
Wee in here for me, please.
Yeah, get the vet's glove out. It's all a bit crazy.
Right. Kids, don't do drugs. If you do drugs, you're a loser.
You are a loser. 2 other big movements. One, Pascal Siakam has now finally gone from the Raptors, gone over to Indiana Pacers. So now you've got Halliburton and him. And they're tying up really nice. So Indiana, they could be looking tasty. Got to see how they, settle in, because, and in that nice segue to teams settling in, Dame Lillard obviously went to Milwaukee Bucks. What's happened at the Bucks now? Bucks got rid of their head coach.
I think my guess is individual differences.
No, I think they lost it before even Dame got there. He'd lost the locker room.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
And the fact that Doc's hanging and gets along with everyone.
Yeah, Doc Rivers, he's now been officially announced as the new head coach for Milwaukee. Doc famously obviously started the franchise as Orlando Magic's first head coach when Orlando
Legend.
Yeah, everyone likes Doc. Everyone likes him in the league. It'll be interesting to see what he does. I will say this, though. It does show a little bit, like you said, the power of players that they have at the moment. And there was an article I read which says, although they've got Doc at the moment and they've just got rid of their other head coach, they're also still paying their previous head coach who they got rid of last season. Because if you remember, they crashed out of the playoffs and they binned off the head coach and went, mate, you're done.
Done.
Because they were first in the league and they should never have binned out, but they did. So he got binned off. But Milwaukee are still paying him. So they're now paying 3 head coaches.
Wow. Well,
So,
the moral of the story is if you lose, you get fired.
Yeah, don't suck.
And that's that for this week.
That is this week's
Don't
motto.
lose, you get fired.
As always, thank you very much for listening. If you've got this far, bless you. We've got loads and loads of shows coming up, as Paul mentioned earlier. If you haven't listened to our previous ones, go back, check them out. We've done some wicked shows recently. We've got lots more in the pipeline. Anyway, I've been Mark.
I have been Paul. And I know you like a badminton quote, so I blame the badminton players.
Really?
Yeah, they're continuing it to play it. If they stop, the sport stops.
Who plays it?
No
If you
one.
play badminton, contact the show.
Yeah.
I'll put you in touch with Paul.